for 60 minutes, we play Iowa State football together.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into Play the Fight Song College Football Show. This is the Iowa State fan perspective. Boy, oh boy, are we getting closer and closer to kickoff as week 0 is almost upon us. We have 19 days, maybe 18, whenever you're listening to this. And then we got about 26 days until 60,000 of our best friends are back and filling out Jack Trice Stadium. As always, I'm your host tonight, Jake, and I'm joined by my brother, Justin, each and every single week. Justin, we have this episode where we're going to do our position breakdown series, last one, final one, and we have to answer some questions about the secondary and about the linebackers. So I'm excited that this is going to be the last group we talk about because it might be the most important group that we need answers from. On top of that, we got 2 more episodes for you guys before we kick off the season. We'll give you guys our season preview, 2025 Iowa State season preview and prediction next week. And the week after that, boy, oh boy, we are back into game preview. We're back into game week. In 2 weeks, we have Farmageddon in Ireland. So all that being said, Justin, I'll give yourself a minute as you take a cough there. How are we doing this Sunday? We're getting closer and closer. You got to be excited.
Yeah, doing good. It's hard to believe it's already August, but I guess the weather is coming down a little bit. Finally not 1,000 degrees out there, so it's starting to feel like fall, starting to feel a little more real for us over here.
In the state of Iowa and I guess South Dakota where I'm residing, it was at 75 degrees. We had the grill going yesterday. You kind of smelt it.
Starts getting you tingling a little bit.
Yeah, you smelt it throughout the neighborhood. And my significant other kind of saw that look on my face. She kind of rolled her eyes like, it's coming. Like August.
She knew she lost.
Yeah. She's like, oh, well, we're about to lose Jake for the next 5 months now. But no, it's all good. We're ready to get back in Jack Trice Stadium for South Dakota. But we have more roster to talk about tonight. And Justin, before we do all that, we got to give out a shout out our great partners at No Rivals, shopnorivals.com. They always hook us up with the best hats in collegiate sports. Iowa State fans, go and check them out. Again, time's ticking. Like, we will be in Jack Trice Stadium by the end of the month. You got to get yourself a new hat. And when you do that, use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. It was 70 degrees this weekend, but Justin, I have a feeling that USD game is going to be 95.
Oh, it always is.
It's going to be cooking. But nonetheless, we're going to be excited to be back. All right. That being said, Justin, before we get into the linebackers and the secondary tonight, and then we're going to wrap up this show, just kind of our overall thoughts on the roster, and then we'll obviously save our previews and predictions for next year. Just we have a little bit of breaking news, a little bit of recent news within the Iowa State program. Very good news to start off the month of August, and it's Coach Campbell. We knew he was kind of renewing his contract, but I think he's going to be around for a while. He becomes the second Iowa State coach to extend his contract through 2032 this year. What was your first initial thoughts when you saw Matt Campbell's new contract?
We are so spoiled as Iowa State fans. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, we sing his praises on here more than pretty much anybody I know, but like I don't think there is a way that we can do justice to it with where we're at with having Matt Campbell around, as well as some of the other coaches that we do at Iowa State right now. I mean, it truly is one of the best times in Cyclone history to be a fan, and we couldn't be more lucky to have a guy and a coach like Matt Campbell leading our program. It just gets me excited, that's for sure.
Lucky is a good word, because honestly, in that contract, he's going to be getting paid his $5 million per year, which is I don't think he even cracked the top 5 within the Big 12, and still top paid coaches within the league. Like Deion's clear and cut number 1, and I'm sure McGuire's up there and whatever, but he gets this contract extended through the next, 2025, the next 7 years, and he still doesn't crack the top 5 because he takes his $1 million discount to allocate it towards the rest of his staff, which he has done in the past before. He's known for doing this. And then now with the revenue sharing thing, he's using that money to help fund basically his team. Like he's saying, use that money elsewhere. At times it feels a little corny for how much we kind of sing his praise, but I really don't.
I mean, It's unheard
You
of.
see
Like
so many
doing something
coaches.
like that is unheard of. Nobody else. What other coaches are doing that in the country right now? Just the fact that, like you said, he's not a top half paid coach in the Big 12. I mean, I would argue he's a top. I don't think it's a very difficult argument to make that he's like a top 20, top 15,
Top 10.
maybe top 10 coach in the country. He's getting paid like half of what guys are getting paid. A lot of like the top tier coaches are making anywhere from like 8 to 12 million a year. He's getting only paid 5, taking a discount to take care of the rest of his coaching staff. It's just really cool to see, and just shows how true his word he is on building a program here, taking care of his guys, taking care of his coaches, taking care of his players, and building something here that in today's age in college football you just don't see.
Well, and I tweeted this out too when the news came out. It just in an era, in a world where these coaches are just taking massive contracts with huge buyouts, really just basing it off of a 1 or year 2 lightning in a bottle success. Coach Prime's a great example. And now is Coach Prime well paid for what he's done to Colorado? Absolutely. But I mean, he had a 9-4 season in his first year in the Big 12, and now he's getting paid what, $10 million a year. And he's not the only one. Like Brian Kelly comes over from Notre Dame, where had some decent success, brought him to a national championship, but Notre Dame's a program you should get it done at, right? Win national titles. Marcus Freeman's showing you can recruit at that level. Kelly complained about recruiting at that school and how it's hard to do. And then he just takes this big buyout at LSU, and he takes this massive contract. And now, like 3 years later, he's about to get his buyout and he's about to protect himself. But it goes to show, like, there's so many coaches you can name within the sport that hit 1 or 2 really good years, and then they demand that they get paid, or they'll move on elsewhere. And it just, from all instances and from every case in Matt Campbell's years here at Iowa State, he's never done that to Jamie Pollard in the athletic department.
Yeah, like he always says, you got to do things differently here at Iowa State if you want to win on the national level and compete with some of those big boys. And no one leads by example better than this guy. So I don't know what other type of guy you'd rather have leading your program.
Well, let's talk about his program. Let's get into it. We have linebackers and we have the secondary to talk about. This defense, we talked about the defensive line in one of our previous episodes. Go and check that out. But this defense, it took a step back last year in a lot of different ways, and a lot of it due to injuries. And I think Matt Campbell said, like, he never saw a roster and a group get so depleted throughout the season that he's ever seen in his career. And the linebacking core is the perfect example of that. As you saw, just, Caleb Bacon goes down in the first game. Will McLaughlin can't play until, what was that, week 9 or 10, and the list goes on and on. There's just guys getting banged up, and you're relying on freshmen from the state of Iowa who stepped in and played good roles. But now we come back with this room, and Justin, from my account, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in this linebacking core that are coming back with not just experience, but good starting experience. Let's list them out. Who is gone? Jacob Ellis heads to Colorado State. I actually previewed that a little bit in our Mountain West show. I think he's going to be an awesome fit there. He could be one of the more important parts for his defense. Different situation than Tyler Onyetum, who took a bag to go be a backup at Texas A&M. That's besides the point.
You sound a little upset about that.
A little bit. But Ellis is going to be a starter, and he just wanted to play more because this room is loaded. Who comes back? Carson Willich, Zach Lovett, Rylan Barnes, Will McLaughlin, Bo Goodwin, Cooper Ebel, those last 4 kids. Caleb Bacon. Those last 5 kids I just named from the state of Iowa, Cale Berzina, and then John Klosterman, the kid from Iowa City who stepped in and had a little bit of a role last year. So, Justin, what is your first initial thoughts? When, like, you could fill out an entire 3 deep with this room. You're obviously excited about what the potential could be, but in my mind, as a little bit of a pessimistic thought, like, we got to figure out a good, solid core of guys who are going to play. If everybody stays healthy, not all these guys are going to be able to play throughout the year. I just don't see it if everybody stays healthy this year, which I hope they do, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of last year with the injuries that they had, having the depth that they have at this position is obviously huge, especially in college football nowadays with just how important depth is. You don't see this level of like depth with guys being able to play at a single position group on many teams. And coming off of last year, I'm kind of surprised that this many guys ended up coming back. I know losing Ellis was kind of, it stinks just because he was one of the higher end leading tacklers last season, but I'm surprised they were able to keep as many guys as they did coming into this year. Just like you touched on, having 8 legit guys who could at least be on the field at one time. But I don't really think it's ever something that you can question. Like you said, having like 6 guys all from the state of Iowa, I think that kind of shows the type of players that they are and that they like being in Ames, being at Iowa State. If that wasn't the case, I don't really know if they would be able to retain as many guys as they did. But you never know when injuries are going to pop up, and maybe they're going to shuffle some guys around. If they're really that talented, they're going to find ways for them to get on the field this year.
I really think you look at like a couple of guys like Bo Goodwin and Rylan Barnes, who are young, still young freshmen, going to be sophomores this year, state of Iowa kids who honestly, listen, I'm not a Division I college football scout, but just from everything I saw last year, I definitely think those two could hit the portal and end up starting right away at a MAC school. Like I don't want to diminish the talent level that the MAC has, but I thought they were really good players who stepped in and are so young. And they were like, I heard Goodwin's put on 15 pounds this summer. Like he could do that at a MAC school and step in and play right away. But he chooses to be back with this young core. And Colby Cratch went to the podium last week and he had a good 10, 15 minutes. Cyclone fans should go and check that out. And he just talked about like how connected this group is. And it really seems like he said that like one of the biggest challenges is just making sure everybody is rooting for each other. And he says he has no doubt that they all do that because, like he said, you can only put technically you can only put 3 linebackers on the field in this defense. So 6 other guys are not going to get as many opportunities. So I think from everything he said, he's really excited with this group. He talked about, Justin, he mentioned like, what is going to get these kids to like, where are you going to find the 3 starters for certain at the end of fall camp? And he came down to big trust factor, like the guys he trusts the most to put on the field. And I know Matt Campbell speaks on behalf of those as well. So Justin, let me ask you, if you had 3 guys that you trust the most, who would they be? Who are you putting in your starting lineup if you're Coach Cratch right now?
I think you got to start
you on the spot here.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we're not the ones that practice watching it, but I feel like guys like Will McLaughlin and Caleb Bacon got to be the 2 that you look at first. Coming off of 2023, they were some of the most hyped defensive players we had going into last year after the 2023 seasons that they both had. Both kind of older veteran guys in that group too. If they're healthy, they're definitely going to be on the field as much as possible. And like you said, who would you lean on for that 3rd spot? I mean, they got so many options. And it kind of is a scheme fit too. But I think a lot of something about this defense is we usually have a lot of safeties and DBs who end up getting a lot of tackles and getting in on a lot of that action. Losing Bo Freiler and Malik Verdone going into this year, maybe we lean on a 4th linebacker to kind of play that role and get some more tackles and step up in a position like that. So how do you see it as kind of where those other 2 positions are going to shake out?
Well, I could cheat a little bit. And obviously I've looked at, Athlon and kind of you see some other websites that kind of project where the starting lineup will be. I definitely think it'd be McLaughlin and Bacon. Like Caleb Bacon was supposed to be like an all Big 12 linebacker last year, just a freak injury. And then the middle linebacker spot's interesting because you got a guy like Cooper Ebel, who I like a lot. I think he's really good, but you got Cale Brzezina, who's kind of right behind him, who was also banged up. I think he got hurt. Was it the UCF game? I think we saw him get banged up and we really didn't see him the rest of the year. Kind of came back in some spots, but he played through injury and he just wasn't the same. As a freshman, like you see, if you're watching this on YouTube here, like the dude is filled out as a freshman. And I know he's gone through his offseason. I'm sure he's going to be even more prepared physically this year. And they've talked about that throughout the offseason. Between Ebel and Brzezina, it's going to be a fascinating race. I think either one can really play the spot. Like if we see a guy like Cale Brzezina play like he did in his 2nd collegiate game, like he did in Iowa City, he's a star in the making. I really think that. So the middle linebacker spot, I think is up for grabs, but I'm going to be honest too. Like, they had an open practice last week. I would have loved to have been there. I think the only guy I might say is for certain is Bacon. I think Bacon is no question he's going to be your starter, but he's coming off an injury. I think every other spot is up for grabs between like McLaughlin, Zach Lovett's really good. Like obviously Bo Goodwin showed some flash last year. I think he's got a chance, but the only guy I would trust for sure right now, first week of August, is Bacon in that starting lineup.
Yeah, and especially with some of the injuries, I mean, different injuries kind of linger a little more than others. I know some of the stuff that McLaughlin was dealing with, I think were sort of back related. So
Yep.
hopefully that's all cleared up for him and he's ready to go full blow. But that's like one of those injuries that makes you a little more timid, kind of a little more cautious with. So who knows kind of what some of those guys' status is. But I think all these guys definitely anticipate on playing this year. Or like we said, I don't think they would all return like they had.
100%. And competition is obviously the biggest thing. These guys are pushing each other every day. The last thing I'd ask about the linebacker group, do we see a Mike Rose in this group? Like what I mean by Mike Rose is just like a star, like an all Big 12 linebacker from this group. I know I touched on Bacon a little bit, but it feels like since Rose has been gone, Iowa State's had good talent at the linebacker position, but I think they've missed like a star. I really think so. So out of these young guys, I mean, all juniors, Caleb Bacon's a senior, a couple of sophomores in there clearly. Zach Lovett's a senior. Do you think we get an all-conference linebacker out of this group?
I think there's definitely potential, especially with Bacon being an older guy, being kind of a veteran leader. It's kind of what we were expecting, seeing him last year, hoping he was going to take that jump from 2023 to 2024, being second on the team with tackles. I think he had like 60 tackles, had like 4 or 5 sacks, something like that. If he's able to put together a full healthy season, that wouldn't surprise me at all if he was there in contention for being one of the best linebackers in the conference.
They mentioned too, like they could use these linebackers off the edge a little bit. I think these linebackers are going to have to be super important. We talked about the defensive line and the edge rushers. I think there's veteran transfer talent there, but I don't know if there's not a Will McDonald in that group. So like Coach Campbell's talked about, the linebackers are going to have to be super important in the way that they can blitz and get after the quarterback. And that's going to have to help out the rest of the D linemen. So it's going to kind of be like a 2-man could kind of, take on and accomplish one goal kind of thing, because I don't necessarily see an all-conference edge rusher. But like I said, like you said, I think Bacon could be this guy who could be a stud. All right, let's move to the secondary. Okay, this is a group, and I'm glad we're finishing on this group. Justin, is it the most uncertain group on the roster as far as we just have no idea what we're getting? Is it the most uncertain, not just defense, offense included, the entire team? What do you think?
I would lean yes, just because of the lack of unproven depth. I would maybe say D-line, but because of the high hopes that I have for Big Orange, I'd probably lean I'd probably lean the secondary on this one. But that's not to say we don't have proven guys coming back like John Tez and Jeremiah Cooper, both really good players in their own right. But gotta say, this group, something Iowa State's kind of had a struggle with is having some guys get injured in the secondary. This is one of those groups that I look at. If we see some injuries from some of our bigger name guys like that, I'm a little nervous to see how these guys are going to step up. It's going to be a lot on some guys who are very unproven in a conference that we've touched on a lot, has a lot of really good quarterbacks coming back and a lot of good passing attacks.
Very good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the depth is something that concerns me with this group, but there's still some talent. I think you still have your stars in Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams, who are both all conference preseason guys. So you feel excited about that, but you lose Miles Purchase, Malik Verdone, Bo Freiler, Darian Porter, just 4 absolute rocks for your defense, for your team. Guys who have, like Malik and Bo played, and Miles played just for years. Like I thought they were in the program for like 7 years, and they were all huge. Like the leadership of Bo Freiler was just massive. And then Darian Porter comes onto the scene, and now you're having to replace an NFL type of guy in him on that side of the ball too. So who are you going to rely on? Well, some new faces. Trey Bell comes in from Lindenwood. He's the only transfer that at the secondary spot. You got Benny Agoye. He's a new guy because he's switching over from receiver to corner. We've mentioned that on this show. You have Quentin Taylor, who's a redshirt freshman. You got David Coffey, who's also a redshirt freshman. Be completely honest with you guys. I feel like I have a good grasp of the majority of this roster. And Taylor and Coffey are two dudes I quite frankly have not seen a ton of. And I'm not sure what I get out of there. So I'm really interested to see those two guys maybe step up in the two deeps. Then your returners. Really, really good group of returners. Jontez Williams, Tayshaun James, Jeremiah Cooper, Marcus Neal, a 4-star a couple of years ago, Jamison Patton finally getting his first shot at starting, and then Drew Surgis, who was also banged up a little bit last year as well. I think something to note, Marcus Neal, Tayshaun James, Jontez all led the team in tackles in the bowl game. If you guys remember, DP did not play, and then Bo Freiler went down right away, second quarter or something. So, I mean, these young guys, Justin, have already gotten tossed into the fire against, I'm not sure if you'll ever see a better passing attack than that Cam Ward team, at least in their 4-year career at like Iowa State. So out of all those guys, you got to feel pretty confident. Like there's like 5 or 6 guys, at least I feel very good about. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think, like I said, most of the starting group I feel really good about. It's just some of the depth behind them that's very unproven, which the secondary is something that Iowa State's defense, that 3-3-5 relies on a lot. And that secondary last year was kind of the strongest part of our defense, is kind of our bread and butter and the backbone that they really had to rely on in tough situations. Hopefully the linebackers stay a little more healthy this year and we see some improvement on the defensive line, so there's not as much pressure on the secondary. But it's still a group that when we are fully healthy, it's not really one that I have many concerns about. They still have guys like Williams and Cooper, who I could see being guys who take the next step and going and playing at the next level, kind of like some of the guys that you mentioned. And hey, maybe if Ngoyi ends up panning out, kind of like Porter, like people have made that comparison, got another really athletic body, who really knows how guys like that could turn out.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so we talked about replacing a guy like Darian Porter. Justin, I don't know if you've like checked the roster and like looked at these dudes. The secondary is it's a big group. Like Jeremiah Cooper's the shortest dude in the secondary, and he's 6 foot tall. And let's talk about him a little bit. Like the Lindenwood transfer, Trey Bell comes in, and if you don't know much about this guy, a little bit of a Will McDonald kind of story. Played basketball basically his entire life, was just in love with basketball. I thought that was what he was going to play. Picks up a football, I think his sophomore or junior year of high school. Like football, like Will, is really, really fresh. This kid's 6'2". I think he's 200 pounds. I think he's put on some good weight. Definitely feels like a guy that could replace Darian Porter. Now, huge shoes to fill, right? Like he's not going to be Darian Porter in his first year. He's a junior. We get him for two seasons, but I think they're going that route. Benny Agoye, 6'4", like Jamison Patton, 6'2". This just feels a lot different from kind of like your Miles Purchase. And I feel like there's a couple of corners back in the day. Oh, like, do you remember DeAndre Payne? Like DeAndre Payne was a guy who was really good. Like clearly they found something with Porter in transitioning a receiver over a corner, and they look at like just the intangibles at the cornerback spot: speed, the guy, quickness, and athletic ability. And I think you have that in a couple of these guys. It's just a matter of do they hit.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think the secondary this year is going to have near the pressure that last year's did. Just with the thinness of the D-line and the linebackers last year. I think those two groups are going to be a lot better this year, which won't isolate the secondary, kind of like we saw in the Kansas game last year, where they were just kind of out on their own, had to go out and guard for like 8 seconds of play or something crazy like that. And if you look at our schedule, obviously the Kansas State game is going to be really tough. First game of the year, they're getting tested right off the bat. But then the next couple games with South Dakota, Iowa, and Arkansas State, probably some of the lesser passing attacks. If you look at the rest of our schedule, still decent teams in their own right. I know Iowa's kind of had their limitations in the passing game, but I feel like with Gronowski and Lester, they're going to be even a little more improved than they have been. So hopefully they've got a little bit of time to get their feet wet before it really starts to kick off in conference play. But that first game in Ireland against Avery Johnson, that Kansas State team, is not going to be easy.
Did you see that K-State, Fitzpatrick, the Ohio State transfer, their starting left tackle, is out for a while?
I saw he got hurt, but I didn't really look into it that much now.
Weird, like, medical situation or something. Like, he was a big-time transfer, comes in and was going to be the starting left tackle right away. And I don't know. They really haven't been specific about it, but they said he was out for Farmageddon. So that's something to keep an eye on as you have some new defensive ends who are trying to getting thrown into the fire against some Big 12 competition right away.
And this Iowa State defense isn't one that, like, I know I keep harping on this same lesson, but like, we just can't give up the big play. That's not the way the Iowa, like, Heacock calls the defense and structures it. It's when they're getting burned and giving up big plays is where the defense really starts to fall apart. They really just got to be stingy down in that red zone area and be a kind of bend but don't break. And I think that's something that with these bigger bodies, with these guys like that, is something that they should be structured and kind of should fit them well with the players that we have.
Well, I think you said it well, Justin. Like, I think it's the front seven's turn to lead this defense. And what I mean by that is I think the secondary has been so good for this defense for so long. And you had guys like Bo Freiler playing with one arm and Malik Verdone playing with one hand, and just like these older guys who led this group. I think this group is good enough if it's led by a good pass rush and a good linebacking core who can play good pass coverage. Because let's be honest, I think the linebackers were terrible in pass coverage last year. And especially like in the second and third string, like you saw it in that Kansas game, it was terrible because we didn't have any pass rush. So I think it's time. Like, you got Cannon Butler, Tamatoa McDonough, Dominic Orange, 3 seniors right there on your defensive line. Like, be leaders, lead this group and get after the quarterback. And I think the linebackers are going to take another jump. And then like these young corners can capitalize on it. They're not going to have to cover as long. They're good enough. They're fast enough. They're athletic enough to just do their job. And I think they're well coached because we have one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. So I trust him. I don't know if the talent's necessarily there with this group, but it's time for this veteran defensive line and honestly, these veteran linebackers to take the reins. And Jontez Williams, Jeremiah Cooper, 2 guys who had 5 interception seasons, they'll do the rest. They'll do the rest. But I don't think it's time for the secondary to kind of let the front of the defense play its role. I don't know if I kind of even said that good enough.
No, I think you said it perfectly. I mean, you look at some of the best teams in college football and the NFL. I mean, a lot of these teams that are going all the way and making these deep playoff runs, they're not really relying on their secondary, especially like Iowa State was last year. We've got a guy in Williams who can lock up or at least hang with some of the best receivers in the conference that we're going to face. And we've got a really good safety in Cooper over top who can kind of lead that secondary. Outside of that, it's not giving up the big plays and doing your job and being efficient in the red zone. And if you look at the guys and the bodies that they got, that's definitely something that we can ask of this secondary.
Give me that Jontez Williams, Jace Brown matchup in 3 weeks. Boy, I can't wait. And I think Jeremiah Cooper's got a little revenge on Jace Brown too. He kind of torched him that game in Jack Trice Stadium on senior night last year. So we'll put a pin on that. But that is the entire roster for Iowa State. Justin, I think we did a decent enough job of giving you guys an idea of what to expect from this group. It's go time, man. We got preview and prediction 2025 next week. You got a record. Don't tell everybody, but you got a record sitting on the top of your head because I think I do.
Yeah, for what I think we're going to finish at.
Yeah,
not supposed to say. Yeah,
no spoilers around here.
I think I've got record predictions for everybody in the Big 12 if we really want to get into it.
Okay. No, we will. Because next week, guys, tune in. It's going to be a big episode. We'll go longer next week. And then we'll obviously go long for our K-State preview that we are so excited to get back. We're going to get some new followers back for that. We always do when the season comes around. But we appreciate you guys who have been listening to us all summer long. This has been a ton of fun. And I know you guys are just as excited as we are. So next week, we're going through the whole schedule. We'll break it down for you, and we'll give you our win-loss predictions for 2025. Just to reiterate from last year, I think me and Justin both said 9-3. So we didn't do too shabby. I don't think so. So we'll see what we got in 2025. Justin, any closing thoughts before we head out of here?
Not really. I mean, I'm really excited for the season to come around. Really excited for both of these groups that we were talking about. In particular, I know you had on the notes kind of what you think is going to be the most reliable position group, maybe outside of quarterback. For me this year, it's honestly going to be linebacker. I like how we were kind of touching down there at the end of the episode, talking about kind of how the defense is going to be formed and who we're going to rely on. I think that linebacker group is going to be key this season, especially with some of the uncertainty at D-line and secondary. So that linebacker group is going to be something we're going to be relying on a lot. And I know that defense last year wasn't really something that we were expecting. If we start to get a boost and get a little more healthy with those guys, I think the sky's the limit for this Iowa State team.
Well said. Way to finish it. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. We will see you guys back next week. Before you head out of here, check out our friends, shopnorivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. Before you head out of here as well, like the video, subscribe to the channel, continue to grow this Cyclone family within Play the Fight Song. We appreciate you guys. And then check out our live weekly show at Play the Fight Song. Each and every single Wednesday, we go live. We cover all things college football, 136 teams. My name is Jake. That's my brother, Justin. We will see you guys back here next week. And as always, every single day, go Cyclones.